Vegeta is the prince of all Dragon Ball characters. He's ruthless, powerful, and loves a good monologue. The only problem is that he makes some questionable choices. Of all the bad guys in Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta may have come closest to winning everything. He harnessed the power of his Great Ape form and crushed Goku like he was Bane snapping Batman's back like a toothpick. When Earth is in ashes, then you have my permission to die, Goku. Victory was in hand for the Saiyan Prince when the most unlikely of heroes jumped in to ruin Vegeta's life. Yajirobe, in an uncharacteristic act of bravery, jumped into the air and cut Vegeta's tail off. This brought him back to his normal form and opened him up to further attacks. He probably still has nightmares where he's chased by evil Yajirobes. If that wasn't bad enough, he ends up having to eat a spirit bomb, gets slashed again by Yajirobe, and then gets crushed by Ape Gohan. The pain was one thing, but can you imagine the smell of a giant, sweaty King Kong falling on you? Even for a guy who hangs out with Nappa, that must have been gross. You just know that Nappa uses one of those cheap body sprays instead of deodorant too. To top it all off, he finds himself at the mercy of Krillin and ends up getting saved by his arch-rival Goku. You have to admit, that is quite the humiliating afternoon for a would-be intergalactic conqueror. Somehow, Vegeta got it into his head that he was a Super Saiyan during the Frieza saga. He gave a couple of monologues about this and was eager to prove himself against Frieza. None of the Saiyan legends mentioned anything about the blonde hair thing, apparently. That would have been a big clue to Vegeta that he was a few power levels short. The big showdown with Frieza goes from bad to worse to even worse to "Where's Goku? We need help!" Vegeta then gets beaten up by Frieza so badly that he ends up crying in the dirt, using his last words to beg Goku to avenge all Saiyans. To his credit, this proved to be quite motivating as Goku managed to become a Super Saiyan and defeat Frieza. Maybe Vegeta should give more tearful motivational speeches. If he did, then maybe they would have defeated Cell a lot faster. What's interesting about this moment is that it seems to have permanently changed Vegeta, at least a little bit. Once he loses to Frieza, he never really comes up with any more evil plans. He and Bulma end up having a son, and he basically becomes a Z-fighter. Sometimes getting a new life after you're brutally beaten by the guy who destroyed your planet is the kick in the pants you need to grow up. I wouldn't recommend it though. After all the pain he suffered through on Namek, Vegeta jumped into the Android saga with both feet. He finally made good on his promise to become a Super Saiyan after a particularly dramatic meteor shower training session. He had new powers, a new kid, and a freshly renewed sense of Saiyan pride. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it turns out that the first two androids that the gang went up against weren't actually the ones Trunks was warning them about. You couldn't have drawn them a picture, dude? The androids of the Apocalypse, 17 and 18, were much more powerful than the old man and the creepy clown guy were. Actually, the Z-Fighters probably should have figured out that those two guys weren't the harbingers of the end of the world. Dr. Gero's psychopath android twins really ruined Vegeta's comeback. When Vegeta decided to take on 18, he quickly found out that he was out of his league. It turns out that androids don't actually run out of power as they're fighting. Vegeta quickly spends his as 18 keeps her cool. 18 ends everything by kicking Vegeta so hard that his arm bends the wrong way. Oh man, there's even a slow motion close-up on his face so you can just see how much he regrets his choices. If you look at Frieza and his two main cronies, you really wouldn't think any of them were some of the scariest bad guys in the galaxy. Dodoria looks like a pink pufferfish, Zarbon looks like he gives YouTube makeup tutorials, and Frieza's like the toddler they're babysitting. Then, the three of them make it known that they are much more fearsome when they barbecue half of Namek like it's their version of Sunday Funday. Some people just go to the mall and then catch a movie with their friends, but hey, who am I to judge? So, it might be a bit understandable that Vegeta thought he could take them on. He did just get a big power boost from his defeat on Earth, and he was still riding the high from blasting his old rival Kui into space dust. I totally get it. After you defeat your rival in a Pokemon game, you pretty much feel invincible. He doesn't get to ride that high long though, because Zarbon reveals he has a hideous final form that is much more powerful. Turns out that Zarbon's been living his whole life with a real-life Snapchat filter on. Vegeta then gets pummeled and thrown into a lake like a piece of garbage. Luckily for Vegeta, Zarb Bonds didn't know about that whole Saiyans gain power after a defeat thing. Guess he skipped that chapter in the Frieza Force handbook. The Ginyu Force is the Black Ops squad of the Frieza Force. Well, Black Ops squad / boy band from the looks of it. Seriously, you know that pose that they do right before battle is on a CD cover in a bargain bin somewhere in the galaxy. Despite all their campy silliness, they live up to their reputation of being the toughest squad Frieza has to offer. Vegeta had to learn this the hard way when he went up against Recoome. The Saiyan Prince gave it his all against him and made a pretty good showing. Too bad it wasn't enough though. Despite all that energy he blasted at Recoome, all he managed to do was rip apart the guy's armor. Then Recoome slaps him around like he's a dog and Vegeta's his favorite chew toy. If that hadn't humbled Vegeta enough, Goku then arrives to take Recoome out with just one hit. Though Vegeta did loosen that particular jar of pickles. Vegeta does get the last laugh. He's the one who finishes off both Burter and Recoome since Goku was going to spare them. Hey, this was technically their first tag team. Who would have thought that that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship? Not Vegeta, that's for sure. There was probably no greater time to be Vegeta since the Saiyan saga than the early days of the Cell saga. It seemed like nothing could stand in the way of Cell absorbing 18 and becoming his perfect self. Enter Super Vegeta. When he took on Imperfect Cell, it was clear that Vegeta was finally king of the power level hill. This was his moment. After failing to take out Frieza, he would be able to redeem himself by taking out a big bad at last. Goku and Gohan would come out of the time chamber to find out that Vegeta had already gotten the job done. It would be his crowning achievement, and he'd finally have surpassed Goku. So what does he do? He allows Cell to absorb Android 18 so he could have a bigger challenge. Well, he got his wish alright. Perfect Cell was a much bigger challenge. Too much of a challenge, it turns out. All of Vegeta's power does manage to take Cell's arm, but he kind of forgot about Piccolo's DNA being a part of him. Cell regrows it instantly and then pounds Vegeta into the dirt. To add more shame to it, Trunks is forced to show that he surpassed his father's power, and even that's not enough to stop Cell. You had it, Vegeta! Is this how sports fans feel like when a quarterback fumbles a ball? That has to really suck for all you baseball lovers. I totally get it now. Sick of the nice guy attitude that he's gotten from his family and his new human friends, Vegeta goes evil again thanks to Babidi. Now that he's back to his Saiyan Saga attitude, Majin Vegeta decides to challenge Goku to a rematch. It seems like one of the most evenly matched fights in the series, but it turns out that that's a lie. Goku was holding back his Super Saiyan 3 form all along so that the match between them would be better. Dude, there were a lot of lives on the line. It would have been acceptable if you shamed Vegeta just to save everyone. Still, Vegeta got a huge redemptive moment when he jumped in to destroy Majin Buu and resist his brainwashing. Vegeta makes the ultimate sacrifice and destroys himself in a giant explosion that was meant to take Buu out of the game. Turns out that this was just a temporary measure because the Majin Buu saga went on for like 20 episodes after that. Well, it's the thought that counts. Dragon Ball Super saw several fan-favorite characters get thrown to the sidelines. Gotenks didn't even get invited to the Tournament of Power. Luckily, Vegeta got more time in the series. In fact, he's basically the second protagonist along with Goku now. The two of them have become the franchise's ultimate tag team. Still, Goku is the one who gets most of the glory. This didn't get better when Vegeta took on Super's biggest antagonist, Jiren. Jiren didn't have any problem taking Vegeta out. He beats Vegeta around the arena and then gets blasted out. Once again, Goku steals the spotlight by showing off his Ultra Instinct technique against the Grey Warrior. Of course, 17 is the one who wins, but everyone seems to forget that part. What's surprising is that Vegeta actually cheers on Goku and seems to have complete faith in his rival's ability to win against Jiren. It shows that despite another failure, Vegeta has once again grown as a person. Well, that, and he's probably going to get a big power boost because of it. Vegeta has quite a few humbling moments over the series. I mean, a lot of humbling moments. Frankly, a shocking amount. Still, it's always better when you aren't the only one who gets humbled. That's why his inability to take on the new Saiyan on the block, Broly, wasn't that big of a loss for Vegeta. To be fair, a lot of it isn't Vegeta's fault. Apparently, Broly is just naturally a legendary Super Saiyan. They could tell when Broly was a baby that he was going to be more powerful than Vegeta. Now that's just not fair. It's like the Dragon Ball equivalent of the midichlorians in Star Wars. Still, it was a harrowing experience to watch Vegeta struggle so much against Broly. It was good that Goku also struggled just as hard against him. So there was obviously only one way for the pair to take on the legendary Super Saiyan. They had to fuse into Gogeta. Vegeta's cooler, but whatever. This resulted in one of the most hilarious sequences in the franchise, as Goku and Vegeta continually failed to get the fusion right. Sure, we saw Goten and Trunks struggle with this, but watching Earth's strongest heroes fuse into silly Gogetas was just fantastic. It may have been humiliating for them, but you know that this was the best time that Piccolo has had in a while. He probably still laughs about it. Vegeta is a grumpy guy who isn't known for having much of a fun side, so when he loses a bet to Trunks during a training session, he has to face his greatest challenge ever, a family vacation. In the most adorable sequence in the entire franchise, Vegeta has to take Bulma and Trunks to the Dragon Ball equivalent of Disney World. Could they not have given Vegeta one of those mouse ear hats? I'm sure it would bring up copyright issues, but it's not like Disney won't own Dragon Ball in a few years anyway. Well, there you have it. All of the Prince of Saiyan's lowest moments. Which was your favorite? Were there any big fails that we missed? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Saiyan action from CBR. Thanks for watching.